What's up, everyone? Welcome to Jeff Needs Sports. This is the Buckeye Remix. And if you're wondering uh, how a win can make me look like this guy the next day, you're about to find out. What's going down, everyone? This is a victory Sunday. If you know me, I grade the Buckeyes based on, that they can win a championship. I base them on the fact that they should be a really good team. Yet yesterday's game against Nebraska wasn't the best. It was a win. So I will say this. I will preface this by saying, anybody that knows me, if you're a win's a win crowd, it doesn't matter. Tough victory and judging them against all the other teams in the country, you're going to struggle with this show. But I would ask you to stick with me. I'm not going to be completely out of my mind here. So here we go. First of all, Jeff Needs Sports. Find it anywhere you get your podcast. If you're listening to this, I appreciate it. If you're watching this, I appreciate it. All the fans and everybody I interact with through the week. And you can find me on Twitter at jhunt006. My live shows are there. I'm on Facebook, at Jeff Needs Sports. You can find my lives there. YouTube, Jeff Needs Sports. So I'm everywhere. So I appreciate it. Everybody that watches, listens, and basically just puts up with me, including my wife. Shout out to her. Hope she had a great weekend. I'm looking forward to seeing her this afternoon. And so here we go. Here's the rundown. We got the overview. And essentially it's this is it. We got the win, which was important because, we all know that the Buckeyes, got a favorable ranking by the committee. So they're in good shape for the college football playoff. So they did get a win. They also failed the eyeball test. And I will argue with anybody that says they didn't. Basically it's like this. They're still wasting possessions. That is my giant takeaway from the Buckeyes this year is they're wasting possessions. It looks like they're within seconds of blowing a team out of the water, and then they don't get a short fourth down, or they don't get an easy third down pickup and have to punt, or a dumb turnover. I mean, thank goodness Ruggles has done really well this year when he's had the chances. And the difference yesterday was we took 3 points a few times when we should. We won the game by 9. That was the difference in the game but just these empty possessions, especially early in a game when the offense looks fine. I mean, the receivers are still open. Everything looks the same. It's not like here's my problem with these empty possessions. It's not like Stroud is getting blasted from the backside. It's not like, the receivers can't find a hole. It's typically just tiny little things. And it's just silly mistakes or they don't execute right, and then all of a sudden they're off the field, especially when the Buckeyes, the way they play. I mean, the red zone, let's say it extends to the 30-35 yard line. They can score from anywhere on the field, really. And when they're driving down the field and they've got a team down, like, let's say 10 points, and you're like, okay, this is the one, or they've got them down 7, they've got them down 13, 14, like yesterday, this is the one. And then they'll have an empty possession in a couple in a row. And I believe yesterday they started off the game with three empty possessions in a row. They just get field goals. That's another 9 points. And all of a sudden this is an 18-point game. And we're having a whole different conversation this morning. So that was my takeaway is they're still just wasting, these possessions. And I just want to, I'll just go on a tangent here about the rationalization. Like all I'm seeing is, well, it's because the Buckeyes got to play at noon yesterday. The whole country, it's not just Buckeye fans that are hard on. The whole country sees that there's deficiencies, that there's problems, considering they're the 5th best team in the nation. And all we hear is, well, Nebraska, we keep hearing about how well Nebraska played against these other good teams. I understand that. But Nebraska also lost those games. Nebraska is also not a playoff team. Nebraska also lost to teams that we're going to play. So I'm not saying that Nebraska was a terrible team and that everybody's like, oh, Jeff, you just think that we should blow everybody out by 30. No, but I think you should win. You should control the game. They never controlled that game yesterday. I don't care if they won by 9 or not. They maybe the second quarter, not too bad, but still they never control the game. So like if you win a game by 9, but it's because Nebraska scores late trying to catch up and they run out of time, that is a different victory than Nebraska having a shot to win the game with the ball. Like that, those are completely two different conversations. So then everybody watches the Alabama game last night against LSU. Alabama struggles against a 4-4 LSU team. Whatever you think, this brings up the whole, well, since it's LSU, they're giving them all kinds of credit. I don't care what Alabama did last night. I really don't. What Alabama did, 4 hours after Ohio State finished playing Nebraska has no effect on how I feel about Ohio State going forward. I don't get that rationalization of like, see, we didn't play that bad because Alabama played LSU bad. No, both teams could have played bad. I don't think Alabama fans were, looking at Ohio State like, oh man, Ohio State, they struggled with Nebraska, so that's fine that we had to hang on versus LSU. Like that doesn't make any sense. Like you're not even playing this. If they're even playing the same opponent, okay. Like, back to back, like if you want to compare, Michigan State versus Nebraska, Ohio State versus Nebraska, that makes some sort of sense. But just, Cincinnati struggles against Tulsa. Then all of a sudden, why does that make Ohio State's execution against Nebraska better? It doesn't. It does not. I watch it and I watch it in a bubble. Like I watch the Ohio State versus the team they played, and I watch the execution, I watch the mistakes, and I watch all that. So I don't get this whole, oh, well, another team did bad, so the Ohio State's win was better. It doesn't make any sense to me. So sorry about the tangent, but it just really gets under my skin. And, I just want to be clear. I judge this team based on want to win a championship. 46 years old now. I don't have another 100 years, to hope Ohio State gets there from time to time. I want one every year. This team is good enough to go to the playoffs. That's what I expect out of them. I think they expect it out of them. I think Ryan Day expects it out of them. I know that all of the coaches' paychecks expect it out of them. The recruits expect it when they go there. So I don't understand why all of a sudden now we're not allowed to judge them based on playoff contention. We have to judge them based on, well, they're pretty good. No, I'm not doing it. Sorry. My knee jerk was the team lacked intensity again yesterday. Another decent opponent. I mean, just a decent opponent, and they lacked the killer instinct. They lacked intensity. It just, you can see it. The offensive line is not playing mean. Stroud plays too laid back. He looks rattled like as soon as the game starts. I'm going to be a little hard on Stroud today. Again, this is the football field part of Stroud. This isn't his personal life. He's probably going to be a fine, whatever he does, doctor, lawyer, whatever he wants to do in life, he'll be fine at it. Probably not. Anyway, so the D does look better, a little more aggressive. They're I'm going with the zone. I'm fine. I know everybody. This is kind of a split decision. Like a lot of people think they need to run more man. I think they're starting to mix the man coverage and zone a little more, especially with Burke out there. Got a little scary yesterday when him and Brown were both down, but they're covering better in their zones. They're picking up people through their zones a little better. Safeties are still getting confused and still give up 2 huge plays, but we'll talk about that in the defense later. But all in all, the D looks better. So that was very uplifting yesterday because I think Nebraska's offense is pretty sound. I think holding them to 17 points and in the way that they did looked pretty good. But my main knee jerk is, especially we got Purdue, Michigan State, Michigan coming up. This team is not ready for the stretch run. They have not figured out, how to, step on teams next. They haven't figured out exactly who they are on offense. The running game's going backwards. This team is not ready for the next 3 games, and the teams they play in, I believe, are. I know Michigan State lost yesterday, but now that's 2 games that they're battle tested. They're figuring it out. They've been smacked in the mouth, and they know how to respond. Purdue is aggressive. They're playing like one of the best teams in the country right now. I don't care about the records. I know what I see on the field. Purdue is playing really, really good football, and they do a lot of things that will expose Ohio State. So it is. I know it. You know it. Ohio State coaching staff knows it. Purdue is coming for blood next Saturday night, and if this Ohio State team plays as laid back and as chill as they've been playing for maybe a month now, big trouble. So, but that being said, they're still. It's little fixes that can put this team over the top and blow somebody out. They still have that ability. They have a gear that a lot of teams don't have. That's the most important thing to remember. They have a gear that a lot of teams don't have. On the offense, let's talk about the offense real quick. They can't establish the run anymore. It's a lot of it's because they're still trying to run RPO, but every linebacker in the country knows that Stroud's not going to keep it. That's a conversation we'll have here in a second. So therefore they read their keys and they go in and they're at Henderson's. It's, it takes so long for these mesh plays to unfold that they're at Henderson's ankles before he really has a chance to get going, because of the lack of option threat. Me and Jay Stevens from Locked On Buckeyes kind of privately talked about how maybe it's time to decide, like, if you want to run an air raid offense, we need to either, or if you want to go to 12 personnel or something like that, we need to make that decision right now. We cannot keep running this JT Barrett offense when you don't have JT Barrett. If you're, if we need to open it up, if we need to, just have, like I said, 11 or 12 personnel, get everybody open, keep Stroud in the middle of the field. So he's not, we know when to run these option plays and you're going right or left, you're cutting off part of the field. He's not the freak athlete that Fields was, to where he can cut back and either take the running lane, or he just got that miraculous arm. He's got a really nice accurate arm, but it's not like above and beyond. It's not what he needs to make these throws. Like everybody saw the first quarter, the miss on Olave, when that's a play that was typically made by Ohio State the last few years. When Olave sneaks past that free safety, that's a touchdown almost every game. And Stroud's checking down, he's, and things like that. So they need to make a decision what this offense is going to look like going forward. That's just all there is to it. The ball's just in the air too much. With 50 some passes. I mean, yesterday, 54 throws from Stroud it's too much in a close game. 54 throws, I expect 54 points. I'm being honest. The yards per attempt's going down. This offense needs to figure it out, and they need to figure it out like today. I'm not even exaggerating when I say today. It's just mixed up right now. The defense got to the quarterback yesterday, uplifting, really did a nice job against Martinez, who, I mean, say what you want about Martinez. He's been an average quarterback, but he's done it for a long time. He understands these things. I thought he played decent yesterday. I thought the defensive line did a great job, especially in the middle. The interior defensive line's playing really great the last few weeks. Happy for them. Still giving up the big plays, man. And I know it's hard in football. Every team has big plays, but man, 2 plays yesterday. I think there was 2 different passes for over 50 yards. Really kept Nebraska in that game, and both of them were on mix-ups in the back end, which I just got to be totally honest. That has to be done now. We're out of mix-ups in the back end of the defense. It's got to be over. It's just all there is to it. The teams that they're playing going forward are great at exposing these with play action and the play action game, and pretty sharp quarterbacks and pretty wise receivers. They will destroy. It'll kind of remind me like the Indiana game last year, when it was 5 mix-ups in a row, gave up, a couple hundred yards passing and, kept them in the game and all that. This next 3 weeks, these teams will expose that. So that has to be done. They just have to figure it out. I'm sorry. But all in all, the defense played really well. It was their best game of the year. Let's be honest. It was their best game of the year. We'll talk about defense here in a second. When we grade it out, we'll talk about the different sides of it. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. I'm not a win as a win guy. I think that they needed to look a little better against Nebraska. I'm curious to see what the voters do this week. I think with Michigan State losing, won't change Ohio State much, because that means Ohio State is they took the lead in the Big Ten. So it's going to be hard to knock them too much. So the Michigan State loss probably kept Ohio State right where they're going to be. They might sneak into the top 4. They may. I mean, I don't know. Oregon had a tough game, but man, the weather and everything, they looked all right. So the bottom line is Ohio State still has a good path. They still have good teams to play. If they win out, they're still in really good shape. But what I'm talking about is, can they win out? As of right now, I do not see Ohio State winning the next 3 games on their schedule. I just don't see it. Just because I got eyeballs. So I've got concerns, real concerns, and we're out of let's see what happens next week games. Now it's win. Now it's win. Now you have to win. Style points. You can't worry about style points. You got to win these games now. So maybe that helps the Buckeyes, because that's how they've been playing for a while. So maybe Ryan Day is right, and it's just about going 1-0 that week, and you control your fate. I won't say you control your destiny, because that statement actually doesn't make any sense. But that's where we're at. Ohio State is a really, really, really talented, but still kind of flawed team, kind of mixed up a little bit. So we'll get on to the report card here. I know I'm going kind of long, but I was pretty fired up this morning. This is what happens. I take a run before the show starts, blood gets pumping, and then I get a little crazy. So here we go. So offense, let's start with the quarterback. Let's just get out of the way. I gave him a C. He looked rattled after the first series, and I know I don't know what you buy into, body language and all those things, but it looks bad for a quarterback that, everybody's arguing he's one of the best in the country. And then when he looks that rattled early in the game, it really bothers me. A couple really, really bad interceptions. The one to the sideline there was terrible. He's trying to like steal 2 or 3 yards. I don't quite, I don't understand the thought process on that. And sorry about that, guys. And it just, and his yards per attempt's just gone down too far. I don't like it. He's fallen in love. I know, we'll talk about Jackson Smith here in a second. I just don't like the attempts per yard or pass going down. That means you're just falling in love with this dinking and dunking, and honestly, falling in love with lobbing this ball over the middle off your back foot is going to, if those get intercepted, they typically wind up big plays going the other way. Really, really scared. He probably should have had more interceptions yesterday. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. Stroud won't run. I don't think you don't have to. It's not like he has to be a super athlete to run, but if you're going to run RPOs and things like that, and when he gets out of the pocket, everybody sees there's so much green in front of him, and he doesn't take it. He'll take a 2-yard pass. That's fine sometimes, but now it's to the point where linebackers are not worried about Stroud running. So now you've got an extra defender out there. The whole point of these mesh schemes is to take a linebacker, take a defender out of the play. We're leaving them all in there, so we're wasting that, but we're still wasting the time going through the option. So it's time to decide what you're going to do going forward. Either Stroud's going to start tucking and running, or abandon this option offense and speed things up. We got to figure out one of the two. He too many throws yesterday for only 2 touchdowns. I'm not saying he didn't make some miraculous throws. I get that. Nobody's saying that he's a bad quarterback, but he's kind of stalled out in the last few weeks, and I just don't know how much. I need to see an edge. I need to see a fight. I need to see him get angry. I mean, I know, in my head, I'm thinking of the Justin Fields that goes out, with a sore ankle, comes back in the next play and throws like a 30-yard touchdown on a strike against Michigan. That's the quarterback I've got in my mind. I'm not saying Stroud can't do it, but I haven't seen it yet. So what am I supposed to say? I just need to see it. I need to see some fight out of Stroud. I need to see him, respond like his players do for him, like Wilson and Olave. Those guys really pick him up and are feisty and keep fighting through a game for him like they did in the Minnesota game. It's time for Stroud to return the favor. So wide receivers, I gave him a B. Jackson Smith and Jigba stole the show. Obviously had a, historic day, 15 catches, over 200 yards. I saw it. A nick on that. This is a Stroud thing. 9 of the receptions by Njigba were in front of the first down marker, which worries me a little, but whatever. He's an explosive athlete. Difference in the game yesterday. He's hard to cover. He did a great job. He might be the best slot receiver in college football. I don't know. He's super good. But like Olave, I gave him a B because they didn't do as much. Wilson wasn't there, which is that's a huge miss. He's a gamer. Here's what I'm saying about Olave. We're to the point now where Olave can't throw the ball to himself. Olave exposes defenses on the back end and breaks coverage and gets deep. And he can't, if you're not going to throw it to him, you're not going to know that. He's still doing the exact same stuff. And I've said this, and I've said this, and I've said this. The receivers are still doing the exact same stuff there, but the quarterback's got to get it to him. And when you got Olave, breaking deep to the left pylon, and you got Stroud rolling out to the right, it's not going to happen. So we got to fix that. That's an offensive scheme issue, and that's on Ryan Day. That he has to fix this. But overall, pretty good blocking downfield. They're still one of the best cores in the country by far. Running back just gave a C this week. I know that it looks like Henderson's trying, but 4.4 yard average. He had less than 100 yards. The offensive line's not blocking. They're not creating these big holes. It's taken too long to get the running back going. I mean, these stretch plays are taking forever. The quarterback's not helping at all. I just discussed that. It really has stalled out, and it's really hurting the overall offense. No explosion out of the running backs again. Now it's almost like it's a one running back system, which I don't understand that with all the talent at Ohio State. We brag about this running back room and then we don't use them. They do help in the pass game. They did a nice job. I mean, Henderson had, a pretty good day on the receiving end of things, but overall, just an average day for the running backs. It's a it's a group effort. It's not all the running backs' fault. It's not all the offensive line fault. It's a group effort. Offensive line, C plus, same reasons. They protected decent. Stroud was pushed around a little bit and rushed a little more than we'd like. The mixed lineup did hurt. Shuffling offensive linemen is a terrible thing to do in a game like that. But and then just no push in the run game. They really just this is the second week in a row, just completely manhandled up front. And this offensive line's too talented and too good to be doing that. So they got a C plus because Stroud didn't get killed, but that was probably being kind. Defensive line, I gave them an A minus this week. I thought they did a good job. They're finally starting to get home. Really got some pressure on Martinez, like we talked about. Got some sacks. The interior, this line, I said it before, they're on fire. They're playing great right now. The run game really, really contained the run game in Nebraska, which was huge. Nebraska wants to break those big runs, like, well, every team does. But I'm saying, Nebraska has the ability, really, really held them. I was very happy with the defensive line yesterday. Good job on them. And I think, they're kind of figuring it out, kind of starting to get to the point to where we hope they would be in the beginning of the season, but good job on them. Linebackers, I gave them a B plus. It's weird now with, we basically have two linebackers on the field most of the time because we've decided that Hickman, we're going to consider him a safety, but played pretty well. I thought the coverage was decent. They're not getting, they're not giving up these silly, like big tight end plays and all this, like they were. I think they're tackling a little better, playing a little quicker. I think Chambers had an interception. I know the game was pretty much over, but still, like, that's a game-ending interception. Good job by Chambers being in the right spot, playing fast. So I thought the linebackers overall did a pretty good job, and especially, I do consider where they were at, to start the season. So happy with the linebackers. Again, defensive backs, pretty good coverage, but I had to knock them. They covered pretty tight, man to man. They did a nice job, but man, still giving up, two huge plays, missed tackles that really affected the game. And that's a problem. And I will say this, I think they're playing pretty good zone defense. And again, there's a back and forth about zone and man. I'm not a line up and go man guy. When you have a team like Ohio State that can score, I really, keep it in front of you. I'm not against that at this point. I don't think you have to. Basically, you go man to leave extra guys and in the run, defense and stuff like that. I don't think Ohio State is at the point to where they need to do that. Now we'll see going forward, especially when they play Walker. How that works out. But I think the defensive backs did a pretty good job yesterday. But man, I had to knock them. They gave up two huge plays that kept Nebraska in the game. So it is what it is. But overall, not a bad game. They only gave up a couple hundred throwing passing yards. So not too bad. Head coach, I gave him a C. I was really disappointed in Day this week. His team played lazy. I'm tired of his, we just got to win excuse. The coach speak drives me nuts. And I know and somebody brought this up today. He is a kind of a Kelly, protege, Chip Kelly protege kind of guy. And it's this whole, I can't be, he's getting to the point, he's getting a little grumpy with the questions. The one thing I like, it's not a comparing the two coaches, but something I liked about Urban Meyer, and that he would admit, yeah, my team looked bad today. We got a lot of work to do. Now Day does too. In his press conferences, he does great. I don't want this to sound like I don't like Day, but it's starting to build up to don't bother me with these questions. You're not seeing, we just have to win. No, you don't just have to win. Sorry, but you don't just have to win, because if you play like this next week, you lose. If you play like this in 2 weeks, you lose. And if you play like this in 3 weeks, you lose. So it's not just a win. I'm sorry. No adjustments on his offense. I've already beat it to death, but just not changing anything. Just keep grinding it and, stumble in the line of scrimmage and then hope the receivers break a big play. It's not that the offense is dead, but there's not the adjustments there to Stroud's skill set that I need to see. So I need to see some adjustments this week and figure out how to get these running backs, get them some freedom out there. Basically, I need to see more 11, 12 personnel. The tight ends are playing great this year. I don't understand, what the thought process is. I thought we started kind of figuring it out against Penn State, and then we took a step back versus Nebraska. So defensive play calling, once again, head coach is basically coaching staff. I think it's much better. I think the defense has figured out a way to survive. If that makes any sense. So a little credit to that. And he is part of that. So I just gave the basically coaching staff a C. I just, not the best, but they have the talent to make mistakes. So there you are. So that's it, everyone. I know it was rough. I promise I do like this team. I just have higher expectations for them than this. And I also know that we're out of time to make these adjustments and to figure it out. So next week's game's been announced, 3:30 ABC. It's essentially a night game. I live in Ohio. It is going to be dark at the end of that game. It will look like a night game. It's going to be crazy. But what I do like is everybody sees that this team needs to step up. So the intensity and the atmosphere for that game should be really good because everybody's going to take it serious. So I think that does benefit Ohio State to where they're looking at Purdue this week. They're not looking at a team that they should stomp. They're looking at a team that they need to beat. And I think that's going to help them. And I think Purdue have a little more pressure on the line too, coming off these victories. So now Purdue has something to play for. You know what I mean? So that's Purdue's playing for the West, and they're playing for, an outside shot at a big bowl game. I don't think they can squeak into the playoffs, even though I think they're playing great. But boy, if they win out, they're going to be one of the best teams in the country. So I like that both sides have something to lose, and I think that benefits Ohio State. I'm more optimistic about that game than people think I am. I think Ohio State's can do it. But I will say this: if they start the game like they did in Nebraska, they lose to Purdue, they lose to Michigan State, and they lose to Michigan. I just want to say that I want to be ahead of that, right now. But we'll see. This is it. This is the biggest test I think this is the biggest test. I mean, by far of the year so far of knowing what's ahead, knowing what your flaws are, and adjusting for the stretch run, and you're trying to make the playoffs. So that's it. So once again, thanks everybody for listening. Everybody go to offtheballnetwork.com. Check out my other guys on there. Check out Jeff Needs Sports. Any likes, shares, reviews, retweets, anything you can do really helps. The way you guys know how it all works, and get at me, contact me, tell me where I'm right, tell me where I'm wrong. Ohio State has one of the best, knowledgeable, crazy fan bases in the world, and I love them. And it's a lot of fun doing these shows. So that's it for me. This is Jeff Needs Sports. I'm out.